Good afternoon, and thank you again for your time. My name is Chris Hornung. In our first session, we made the case for building a dedicated cybersecurity team, a CISO and 12-person unit. Today's proposal answers the natural next question. Once we have that team, what exactly will they do? The answer is a cybersecurity risk management program, not a one-time project, and not a pile of disconnected tools, but a continuous, repeatable, board-governed way of finding our risk, deciding what to do about them, and providing over time what we're getting safer. Over the next several minutes, I'll cover why we need a structural program, the components every effective program must contain, and then the 5 phases will follow to implement it, with the specific milestones and deliverables you can hold us to at each step. This is a presentation number 2 of 6. Here's our path. First, why risk has to be managed as an ongoing program rather than a series of one-off fixes. Second, the components. The essential parts every effective program must contain. This is our checklist for completeness. Third, how those components fit together into a single repeating life cycle. Then the core of the request, the 5 phases we'll work through to stand the program up, and for each phase, the key milestones and the concrete deliverables you'll receive. We'll finish with a 12-month roadmap and the specific approval I'm asking for. Three ideas justify doing this as a program. First, risk is continuous. New vulnerabilities appear every week, and our environment keeps changing. Every new title, every new external tester site, every new vendor shifts our exposure. A single point in the time assessment is out of date almost immediately. Only an ongoing program keeps pace. Second, resources are finite. We cannot protect everything to the same degree, and honestly, we shouldn't try. A program forces us to rank our risks, so we spend first on what matters most, our source code and our customer data, rather than spreading effort by guesswork. Third, and most relevant to this room, the board needs visibility. Risk decisions are business decisions, and they belong to leadership. Documented and owned, not left implicit inside IT. A real program produces the metrics and the reporting that let you actually govern risk. In short, a program replaces assumptions with accountability. This is the completeness check. An effective risk management program contains 10 components. And if any one of them is missing, we have a blind spot. It starts with the governance and risk framework, the policies, the risk appetite, the roles, then an asset inventory with data classification, so we actually know and rank what we're protecting. A risk assessment methodology gives us a repeatable way to score likelihood and impact. And the risk register is the single source of truth that holds every identifiable risk. Risk treatment and controls is where we decide to mitigate, transfer, accept, or avoid each risk, and then act. On the right, continuous monitoring and metrics track risk over time through key indicators. Incident response and recovery feeds real events back into our risk decisions. Third-party and supply chain risk covers our vendors, Ironclad, our ISPs, our backup provider. Security awareness and training addresses the human factors behind most incidents. And review, audit, and continuous improvement keeps us honest and raises our maturity year over year. 10 components, but they aren't a static checklist. They operate together as one continuous cycle, which is what the next slide shows. Here's how those 10 components come together in practice. As a 5-phase life cycle that repeats. We start by framing and governing, setting the rules. We identify and assets, finding and scoring our risks. We treat and implement, deciding what to do and deploying controls. We monitor and measure, watching continuously and reporting, and we review and improve, auditing ourselves and maturing. Then critically, it loops. Risk management is never finished. At a minimum, we run a full annual cycle with quarterly reviews in between. And we're not inventing this. Our life cycle map directly onto the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. Govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Adopting a recognized standard means we benefit from industry consensus. We can benchmark ourselves and we can demonstrate due diligence to partners and regulators. Now let me walk you through each phase. Phase 1, frame and govern. Before we assess anything, we set the rules of the road. The milestones on the left, the board approves a program charter that gives this effort authority. We define our risk appetites and tolerance together because how much risk is acceptable is a leadership decision, not a technical one. We formally adopt NIST CSF 2.0, and we ratify governance rules through RACI model. That makes the CISO the owner and this executive team accountable. You'll receive 4 deliverables: the program charter, a risk appetite statement, the governance and RACI model, and our control framework mapping. This phase is short but foundational. Everything after it inherits the direction we set here. Phase 2, identify and assess. How we find out what we actually have and what threatens it. The milestones, a complete asset inventory with data classification. So our crown jewels, the develop IT source code, the HRIS and the payroll data are explicitly flagged as our highest value assets. A threat and vulnerability assessment across the whole environment, including those external tester sites and VM test clouds. Our first full enterprise risk assessment, where each risk is scored by likelihood and impact, and a populated risk register, prioritized into a heat map so the biggest risks are unmistakable. The deliverables are exactly those artifacts: the classified asset inventory, the assessment report, the enterprise risk register, and the prioritized heat map. After this, we know exactly where to focus. Phase 3, treat and implement. This is where risk becomes action. For every significant risk, leadership approves a treatment decision. Do we mitigate it, transfer it, for example, through insurance, accept it within our appetite, or avoid it entirely? Then we deploy controls, starting with our highest risk, protecting the source code and the customer data. We publish our security policies and standards. Remember, the company documentation says we have none today. So this milestone closes our single most glaring gap. And we track every remediation through a plan of action and milestones, so nothing falls through the cracks. You'll receive the risk treatment plan, the control implementation roadmap, the full policy and standard set, and the POA&M. Phase 4, monitor and measure. A program is only credible if we can watch continuously and prove it's working. The milestones. Continuous monitoring goes operational, and importantly, we build on tooling we already own, manage IT, rather than starting from scratch. We baseline a risk metrics dashboard of of key risk indicators and key performance indicators, so risk becomes something we can actually see trending. We deliver the first quarterly risk review to this board, and we make the incident feedback loop live so that whenever something happens, it updates our risk picture automatically. Your deliverables, the monitoring plan, the metrics dashboard, quarterly board risk report, which becomes a standing item, and a continuously updated risk register. This is a phase that gives you, the board, ongoing visibility. Phase 5, review and improve. This is what turns a project into a lasting program. We complete an independent control assessment, an internal audit. Rather than grading our homework, we rescore our maturity against the NIST framework so we can show measurability progress from where we started. We approve and schedule the next round of improvements, and we formally establish the annual cycle in a board attestation so risk management becomes a permanent governance rhythm, not a one-time push. Deliverables. The assessment and audit report, a maturity scorecard showing current versus target state, the continuous improvement plan, and an annual risk attestation for the board. Then the whole life cycle repeats, a little stronger each year. Here's the whole thing on one timeline so you can see the pace and the overlap. Frame and govern runs in the first 2 months. Identify and assess follows month 2 to 4. Treat and implement is the heaviest lift. Months 4 through 8, because that's where controls and policies get deployed. Monitor and measure switches on around month 6, and then this is the key point. Never switches off. It continues indefinitely. And the review and improve kicks in near month 10 and then recurs annually. Each diamond marks where a phase's milestones and deliverables come due. Notice that within roughly a year, we move from zero formal risk management to a fully operating self-improving program. After year 1, monitoring and improving, simple keep cycling. This is a sustainable rhythm, not a sprint. So here is what I'm asking the board to approve. 4 things. 1, adopt the framework. Formally charter this program and adopt NIST CSF 2.0 as our standard. 2, approve the rollout. Direct the 5 phases. 12-month implementation we just walked through. 3, accept the reporting. Agree to receive a quarterly risk report and an annual attestation, because your visibility is part of the design. And 4, endorse improvement. Make continuous review a permanent governance practice. I'll leave you with this. Today we manage risk by assumption, and assumption is where breaches hide. Risk we can see is risk we can manage, and this program is how we finally get sight of it. Thank you. I'm glad to take your questions.